Today, apparently Breath of the Wild is all anyone's been doing because that's also the only news. This is CheckPoint.
Welcome to CheckPoint, which this week may or may not be broadcasting an hour earlier or later due to regional differences in daylight savings time.
Okay, how about this? If you're watching this live, look at your clock. Whatever time it says, that's when we're broadcasting for you. You know that Zelda games have a timeline, right? Or, well, 3 timelines, I guess, sort of. Without actual confirmation from the people who make the games, I would have just assumed that each game was a different telling of the Link and Zelda myth, but no. It all hinges on Ocarina of Time and how the events of that game shake out. Spoiler warning for a 20-year-old game, I guess. Briefly, if, in Ocarina, Link goes back in time, leaving Hyrule without a hero, Ganon messes everything up, and we get Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. If Link goes back in time and warns Zelda about Ganon, then it leads to Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Four Swords Adventures. If Link actually loses to Ganon and Hyrule starts to fall, then we get the original Legend of Zelda and Link to the Past games. I'm bringing all of this up because nobody is sure where Breath of the Wild falls into this fractured continuity, and producer Eiji Aonuma isn't helping. He stated that there are clues in the game, but there's actually fairly compelling evidence in the game for it to be in any number of these timelines. Well, as compelling as any evidence can be when what you're talking about sounds like a fan-made conspiracy theory. For those wondering, no, the Philips CDI games are not canon, and we'll all be better off pretending they never even happened. So, where does Breath of the Wild fall in the greater Zelda super timeline? We may never care.
Speaking of Link, Breath of the Wild is full of things to collect, eat, and wear, but fans have noticed that one iconic thing seems to be missing. Link's pointy green hat. Why? Because it looks stupid. No, seriously, here's a direct quote from art director Satoru Takizawa. As the graphic fidelity has increased, it becomes more difficult to make the hat look cool. And honestly, that's kind of true. You don't believe me? I present to you Exhibit A, this real-life man wearing a very dumb hat. But if you really do love the classic hat, you can get it in Breath of the Wild. You just have to beat all 120 of the game's shrines, and then you get...
Speedrunners are, by their very nature, quick. And there are already some sub-1 hour speedruns of Breath of the Wild. I haven't beaten it yet, so I haven't watched them, but players apparently spend half the time blowing through the tutorial and then just haul Hylian ass right to Ganon. Ganon isn't a spoiler, by the way. He's the bad guy in nearly every Zelda game. And this one starts by going, look, over there, you see that? That's Ganon. What the speedrunning community has yet to agree on is the use of the Smash Bros. Twilight Link amiibo to summon a horse, which, depending on who you talk to, either shouldn't be used or doesn't offer enough of an advantage to matter. Luckily, I'm sure this will all be sorted out by the community by the time normal people have beaten the game and can actually appreciate watching these runs, instead of just sitting here waiting for a rainstorm to pass so I can climb this wall.
A complete madman going by the name Mr. Squishy has made a playable version of Pokémon Red inside vanilla Minecraft. And not like coding an emulator to run a ROM of Pokémon Red or modding Minecraft itself so you can catch Pokémon inside the game. No, that's too easy for confirmed masochist Mr. Squishy. No, he spent 21 months constructing a Game Boy that actually just plays Pokémon Red. How does that even work? Well, first he built a physical representation of the game's map in Minecraft. Under every tile of the map, there are as many as 20 sublayers containing information like whether the user can surf or fish on the tile, if there's a hidden item, what encounters are possible, pointers to tell the game what to do if the player presses A. All in all, there's a lot of stuff, and the game's code uses over 357,000 command blocks. Speaking of the code, Squishy went so far as to recreate the original bugs and glitches in the game, because he had to rewrite the code from scratch in order to make it work in Minecraft. Honestly, it's almost impossible to comprehend how complicated this build is. What I can comprehend, though, is how futile Mr. Squishy's life will feel when Nintendo slaps him with a cease and desist for unauthorized distribution of a game that is literally indistinguishable from the original version.
Steam is once again changing how its review scores are used. When viewing a game on Steam, you'll see a little aggregate of how the game is being received by its user reviews, positive, negative, mixed, etc. Going forward, while all reviews will still be visible on a game's page, the only reviews that will affect that little meta score are from users who bought the game on Steam, which is to say, reviews from users who bought the code through a third party or received it for free won't count. This obviously affects games media, but professional writers are going to be publishing their reviews on actual websites, so this doesn't matter to them at all. The problem this does solve is publishers giving free codes to influencers that the publisher feels are a safe bet for a positive review, a pattern Steam has seen happening and one that's been pretty effective. Back in September, Steam reported that review scores from users who received the game for free were notably more positive than from users who bought the game. This does mean that if you received the game as a gift, like for your birthday or because a friend hates you and wants you to play Garfield Kart, your review also won't be counted. Probably for the best.
That's a whole lot of Zelda stories this week, eh?
Well, it's single-handedly selling a $400 console, so it's kind of relevant.
Hey, what about 1-2 Switch? You can milk a cow and it doesn't look weird and awkward at all.
That's true. What's really innovative about 1-2 Switch is how none of the games make it look like you're giving uncomfortable handjobs.
Yeah, none of them. Coming up, Twitch is streaming Power Rangers starting on March 15th. All 831 episodes spanning 19 seasons of the show. Streamers will also be able to host the broadcast and offer their commentary, so it's going to be a long 17 days.
Recruit a team of streamers with attitude.
Yeah, I feel like
Zorna, can you narrow that down?
Yeah, isn't that all streamers?
the Power Rangers streaming. The every person MST3King Power Rangers.